Serious, men of Reddit, what are some examples of sexism towards men today? In year 9 a girl got mad at me. I forgot the reason why, but she slapped me. She was mid-sentence saying I wasn't gonna slap her, but I did. I tried using the exact same amount of force she did and in the end I think I used less force, but after all I was the one getting suspended for 3 days. Luckily a lot of guys were backing me up and protested to the school about the system. After that they changed the rule to whoever started it got suspended, no matter of gender. Now that's what I call teamwork. I work in the foster care system. Last week, I picked up an infant in foster care to bring to the department for a supervised visitation with her birth mother. The mother was running late, so I changed the daughter's dirty diaper. I have a daughter a few years older than she was. I can do it with my eyes closed. I told the mother when she arrived that I changed the diaper, just making conversation. The mother told my supervisor she didn't want a man changing her daughter's diaper. I just shrugged. That means that's one less dirty diaper I have to change, so I think I'm coming out ahead in this situation. Thank you for the heart you have for the kids. Before COVID hit I had to watch my 3 cousins, all girls and I'm a male. Some lady was giving me stares and following us. When I stopped to let them go to the bathroom before the long ride home, the lady went in after them and followed them out and confronted me. Long story short, I told her off and my cousins expanded their adult vocabulary. I told their mom the story and we still talk about it to this day. I feel fortunate that I only get the "you're so cute" treatment and not the "you must be a pedo" one. Would def frick someone up if they accused me of being a pedo when hanging with my kid. I watched this study on YouTube once. The study created a scenario where a man and a woman are fighting in the park using a pre-approved script. At the end of the staged article, the woman would slap the man. They did this little skit at various locations at different times of the day and always got the same reactions from passers-by. Whoa, good for her. Gee, wonder what he did to deserve that. He must have deserved it. Ha, that's funny. You know, up that sort of vein. A few months later they repeated the experiment, using the exact same script except this time the lines were reversed and it ended with the man slapping the woman. The reactions are what you would expect. Hey, stop that man. You can't do that. It's never acceptable you hit a lady. Somebody call the police. They repeated the experiment several times, where the argument was different scenarios and the results were all the same. When the guy got hit it was funny and he deserved it. When the lady got hit it was vile and unacceptable. I used to be in a physically abusive relationship with a woman that liked to end her arguments with punches and bites. One time, she was at my apartment and we got into it. She started beating the heck out of me, and a neighbor called the cops on her. When the police arrived, they forced me to leave and threatened to have me arrested if I return. She got a firm talking to, but ultimately I had to drive over an hour to my mom's house. So, the difference in how men and women are treated in abusive relationships. Women get coddled and praised for being tough, as they freaking should. Men, however, we get laughed at and have our masculinity questioned. I even had people tell me I shouldn't be upset about it since I was a pro kickboxer at the time, and should be used to getting hit. So, I was a young dad, 17, and we ended up splitting up more or less instantly. Now my daughter is 15 and the amount of times I've had to say yes, that is how children work, to people because they are disturbed that I'm hanging around with a young girl who is too young for me is ridiculous. It ranges from concerned looks to freaking horrible people injecting themselves into our life with their unjustified, damaging dumbassery. Yet her mum's a freaking sim because she is a single mum spending time with her daughter. She is a good mum though. And I bet you're an awesome dad too. I literally just got told to leave the location I was scheduled at and head over to a different one. Upon asking why the sudden change, I was told, oh, we forgot that this client doesn't work with men. She doesn't like them. This was a freaking doctor. I was livid. While I was growing up and still happening, TV shows, cartoons and to an extent advertisements, men are constantly shown to be incompetent to a level sometimes bordering on mental retardation. And this is meant to be funny because LOL, men are stupid. I hate those commercials. Even my mom hates them. No normal guy acts like that. Suspicion about men who want to work with small children, like as kindergarten teachers or daycare workers, or even going out in public with their own children. Full disclosure, not a man, but this is an issue that's bad for men and for women. I work retail. I constantly get told to get a female employee to help with makeup and cosmetics. I dabble in special effects makeup, dye and treat my hair a lot, and I tend to try to stay informed about my job and the products I sell, so it's a little disrespectful to assume I don't know what I'm talking about. Just put on a stereotypical gay accent and you'll be fine. I'm not a dude, technically, but I'll contribute what I've observed. Men are judged far more severely for being disabled. There's a lot of pressure placed on them to be providers, self-sufficient, and broadly competent. I've seen so many women shame disabled men whose wives provide for the family, or who have to live with their parents, calling them freeloaders, man babies, etc. It's gross. I was thinking along the same lines. I think women are often dismissed in the medical system and think that men have it better, which is the case sometimes for sure, but I know a few men close to me who have chronically pain illness and get a crap time of it too. I think the medical system in general is terrible at dealing with disability. Women can assault men when they feel threatened or uncomfortable or insulted, and it's seen as a stance of power and self-respect, but if in the same scenario the man does anything in return, he's the aggressor and gets mobbed by everyone around him and then thrown in jail. I've seen this so often. Another example of sexism is even talking about men's issues, or just look at the upvote percentage on this post. Whenever men try and talk about sexism or issues they face, people try to shut the conversation down. People speaking up for men's issues often get labeled as MGTOW woman haters for just trying to discuss legitimate issues. Have a look at any popular subreddit posts about males facing hardships or sexism and it's locked, or being taken down. Like this one will undoubtedly be in a few hours. It already was taken down and is only 66% upvoted. I actually tried a few weeks ago too, and it also was taken down. Because talking about women's issues is fine, but it's sexist to talk about men's issues because somehow we're the more privileged sex. Went to IKEA once. Bought lots of stuff weighing like a grand total of 200+ pounds. They had people outside helping others load their stuff. Asked nicely if they would be able to help me. Basically just got told to man up. But the lady right in front of me had like a quarter of the stuff I had, and when she asked for help they were like, "We'd be happy to, we get paid hourly." Yikes, that's BS. I have a bad back. These days it seems like I have it under control, mostly, but there have been times where it's been particularly awful. There have been times when I couldn't sit on public transport without excruciating pain. And there have been times where I've had the opposite. I would need to sit on public transport. Standing was the thing that was excruciating. I remember one time I was in a lot of pain and thankfully found a spot to sit on the bus. A woman sat beside me, and all around me were sitting women, no men. Then a pregnant woman stepped on the bus and the woman sitting beside me started berating me to get up and let the pregnant woman sit. She kept going at me, trying to shame me into leaving my seat. I had no interest in explaining myself. I just ignored her. But even with me ignoring her, she didn't stop. She kept going on and on about what a reprehensible person I was. Stay-at-home dad here. I take my daughter to the playground and watch all the moms introducing themselves and laughing and having a good time. None of them will talk to me. I think that if the Johnny Depp vs Amber Heard story was the other way around, it would have ended so long ago, but it's just speculations. Also, I have noticed that plus size models are only women. No fashion company that I've heard of ever wanted a fat male model. Johnny Depp got cancelled for being in an abusive relationship. His abuser still has a career. This one girl tried to get me drunk, and I did. But I kept persisting and telling her I'm not in the mood to get drunk, but pressured me into drinking more. Then she made moves on me while she stayed sober. When I told people, they told me I was being a P or I should thankful that I'm wanted sexually. Now let's flip this and say I was doing that to the girl. Exactly the same thing. I would be a rapist. I hate these double standards. Men can't be interested in a girl without people assuming it's sexual. Doesn't matter if you have genuine feelings for someone, it all just boils down to you wanting to frick them. It really sucks because when I like someone, that's usually the last thing I'm worried about. Or, God forbid, thinking a girl is cool and wanting to be friends with her. Men going into custody hearings at a massive disadvantage and courts frequently ruling heavily in favor of mothers with little to no justification. Domestic violence. Had a partner that punched me over 10 times in the back of the head while I was walking to the door. Neighbors called the cops. Ex said that she was scared that I might retaliate, so they locked me up for the weekend. While I was getting punched, I made a conscious effort to keep my hands by my side rather than block punches, so the cops couldn't say that I raised my hands. Was 32 years old and it was the first interaction I had with police. The next time she wanted to argue, she told me that she would just start punching me and tell the cops she was scared again. Later that day she threatened to stab my son. We both left that night with no refuges or support available to male victims of domestic violence. That really sucks, man. I hope you and your son are doing better now and she's gotten what she deserves. Alimony. Child support without accountability. Bias against single fathers. How tall is he? Money bag, sperm bag in alternating order. What else? Nothing big, but I bought a bath bomb that said made for women by women. What? A guy can't enjoy a nice bath bomb every once in a while? Market a camouflage one with some rustic scents and bank on it. Circumcision is a form of genital mutilation on men that is legal. My body, my choice should apply equally to both genders. Forced fatherhood. Even when the man clearly states that he does not want any children, the woman tricks him into getting her pregnant and she dumps the responsibility on him. It's freaking oppression and abuse. That's also reproductive coercion, which is a form of rape. Women have their problems. Big ones. Society wants to keep us all apart. My statements are a mix of things that have directly happened to me, or things that can be objectively proven. Suicide among men is way higher than women. When men seek mental health care, they're often shamed or put down. Same when men come forward about sexual abuse, harassment, or assault. Worse, these things are often played off as a joke. Wonder Woman raped a guy in WW 1984 and it's treated as a joke at the end. Literacy rate is lower among men. Men have a harder time getting into college. Men have a harder time getting scholarships. Men get fricked in divorces. Men face longer sentences for the same crimes. Men generally tend to be taken by cops in any domestic dispute. Men tend to be seen as disposable. Women are generally treated as being special and unique. But men, unless we're super handsome, talented, in the top 1% of sports talent, etc., all we're good for is providing for a family. Johnny Depp having his career ruined and Amber Heard cruising along in life, despite the fact that she too verbally and physically abused him. Men are told to share their emotions, that we're too closed off, emotional robots, etc. But when we do, then some women get to keep hardship. For example, her. You men are scared to show emotions. You just bottle it up. Him. Well, I am very anxious about getting laid off from my job, and it keeps me up at night in tears. And her. Oh poor baby. Wah. Isn't life unfair? Try being a woman who has to provide for kids. You shouldn't complain. Your male privilege is showing. Or, him. I'm exhausted from work. Her. Oh poor baby. Try being a mother. We work much harder than ever did. Him. I hurt my back at work and am in a lot of pain. Her. Poor baby. Try childbirth. You don't even know pain. Her. How tall are you? Him 6 feet 3 inches. Why? Her. I don't date men under 6 feet 1 inches. Him. Oh okay. How much do you weigh? Her. You piece of crap. How dare you? You're worse than Hitler. How dare you judge a woman for her weight? The funniest part is one of those you are able to control. How if any woman accuses a man of rape or sexual harassment, people are quick to ruin his life without any proof. And even after there is proof he didn't do anything, the damage has already been done. Something that hinders any meaningful discussion about rape is people believe in a false dichotomy between the man being completely guilty or the woman intentionally trying to ruin him. Sometimes they just get the wrong guy. Here's something that I learned from working with the homeless. If you are a female, you are more likely to get help. If you have children, even more. Shelters, medical help, counseling, etc. If you are a male, you're more than likely going to be turned away. If you're a male with a child, you're more than likely going to be separated. They'll let the child stay in the shelter, tell you to sleep on the streets, and the thing is, you see less women overall. Women who aren't necessarily suffering from obvious mental health issues can sway some man into helping them. A sensible homeless woman can find a dude and talk them into letting them have shelter, feed them, etc. Maybe the guy's a good guy, sucker, maybe he's a frisky dude. They have that option. You hear horror stories from people of what they've done to survive. I feel like men are the last group that it seems generally accepted to make negative and stereotypical generalizations about without much backlash. It is not uncommon to hear or see statements like men are sexist or men are disgusting without much reaction, and even a lot of people agreeing. That kind of hateful generalizations about any other group would immediately make you a social pariah, but for some reason when it's about men as a group it's okay. Not just okay, it is encouraged. I have a close friend whose parents were recently divorced. He constantly gives me updates on the situation, and it's messed up. First, the father was expected to pay a crap ton of money to the mother. He has to be constantly paying her to support their kids that live with their mother, and she still sues him regularly for reasons nobody can fathom, and gets away with it. Not to mention he got remarried and has to provide for his new family of 8. The ex-wife has a full-time well-paying job that she is saving for her personal retirement fund. Obviously this could be a bit biased, but it all comes from the mouth of their child, who has to deal with all this crap. It sucks. I don't understand how the father can make enough money. Conscription. Profiled while around children. Everyday annoyances renamed after men. Mansplain. Manspread, etc. Glorification of women's violence against men. Car insurance price discrimination, though 5 states have now outlawed it. Prostate cancer received 1/3 the funding of breast cancer and virtually no awareness or publicity. 50% of all DV victims are men and 70% of DV is initiated by women, but 98% of DV arrests are men. Plus, we're 25% more likely than the women beating us. Me Too has cost men their livelihoods for mere allegations, yet 2 women felt up a Tongan Olympian on Live TV and that was considered funny and cool. 93% of prisoners, 75% of the homeless, and 80% of suicides are men. 97% of police shooting victims are men. Boys do worse in school, and it's been shown that teachers give lower marks to boys for identical work and are more disciplinary towards them. I've experienced both. There's nothing for empowering men in terms of t-shirts or memes. Like, if you do a Google image search for respect men or men are awesome, virtually all of the results are about women. I am a teenager. I feel like an old man though. This is because my parents divorced when I was young, making me the man of the house. I parent my little sister and I'm naturally protective of them. I work so we can't afford to eat a nice dinner on Sunday evenings. No man should feel responsible at my age. My mother, whom I hold a deep love and respect for, rarely works and my sister and I have school also. I feel so stressed and it can be prevented if my mother worked more. I had this conversation with her and she got pee and told me to go and fix a door problem we had at the time. To my fellow men, we aren't alone. I come to Reddit to talk and connect with people in similar situations. It really helps. Dang well, I hope things get better for you, man. You're a heck of a lot tougher than I am. Divorce law. I know a guy who had to pay for his wife's lawyer and his lawyer for the divorce. His wife of course got the top lawyer who made him broke. He currently lives in a 1-bedroom apartment. Near my hometown, a youth pastor was all over the news for raping a student in his class. The church never fired him, but the news everywhere was talking about it. No one knows if he actually did it. It was the girl's statement versus his statement. The reason it sticks out in my memory is that I am a youth pastor about an hour away from where this happened. I am terrified of the fact that a girl in my youth group could simply say that she'd been molested or raped by me, and the news would eat it up. The people in my community would just assume it was correct, and there would be a permanent black mark on my resume for the rest of my life. I don't know whether the other youth pastor actually did rape the girl, but the entire story was made public without any evidence. No evidence was given, yet that guy's life was completely ruined. If he did it, he deserves that public shame. But if the girl was just an immature teenager who didn't understand the weight of her actions, That's a scary situation to find yourself in. I'd say that's an example of sexism toward men today. Women can grope men all they want cause it's hot. Meanwhile, if a man accidentally touches a woman, they're called perverts and rapists. The number of times I've been topless and have women aggressively punch my nipples with nails is too high. I've got really sensitive nipples and they've bled from random attacks before. If you do something stereotypically feminine, you'll be made fun of by men in society. If you do something stereotypically masculine, you'll be insulted by feminists. Amber Heard v. Johnny Depp. Enough said there. Woman being awarded primary custody of children during divorce and it being up to the man to prove that the woman is unfit for childcare. In some countries a woman can rape a man, get pregnant from his sperm, and claim child support from the victim. In some countries a woman can sue for child support from a man who isn't the biological father of a child. Military training being lowered for women. If you can't perform at the level of your male counterparts, then you shouldn't be a soldier. In an active combat scenario, if you can't perform at the same level of your squad mates, you are a liability, not an asset. The fact that as men we are incapable of taking care of our children and as such, very often we do it gets labeled as babysitting. If you dare to argue, you get looked at as if you're about to kidnap your child. I even have been asked a few times if mom knew where I was when I was simply walking a stroller with my 10-month-old at the time. Not technically a guy, but I see a lot of it on Twitter. Anytime there's a story about an adult woman molesting a little boy, there's always people in the comments defending her, making excuses. Some girls will encourage their female friends to cheat, but will turn around and say if a man cheats that he's awful. And the weirdest one was like, a bunch of ladies insisting that men have to be the one to take the trash out, that it's a man's job and they wouldn't be caught dead touching the garbage can. Like WTF. If there is a place that support only men, it's considered a sexist exclusionary hellhole where incels and wife beaters are born. If there is a place that support only women, it's a space where women can sprout and grow without sexism and toxic masculinity. Example. In my country they opened an only boys school, but it was considered a place where boys would fight to their death and have their grades decline because of bad influences. But when they opened in the same area an all-girls school, it was considered a big step towards equality, a place where girls can express themselves without boys shaming them. You can see the problem. And just a note, I live in a developed country where girls being sent to school does not mean they will be shipped off to be sold as slaves. My husband. People don't care about men's suffering. A dude had his dong cut off and placed in a blender and people laughed. Also there are 1,500 women's abuse shelters. As of 2017 there is only one for men. Not getting hired for a position, a lower position that was available in the department that you have a master's degree at said school you're working for and volunteered for a year while there were no openings to an African American woman with just a bachelor's and one that was only her first or second year in. He hired them before even making the spot public, so I couldn't put an application in. It really made me rethink my life when this happened. After my first suicide attempt I went to my school's counselor. I asked her if they knew any local therapists that I could try and get help from. We talked for a while and I told them the entire story. They just said that I'm being sensitive and because I'm a guy I should just man up. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.